Welcome to the Tulsa Expo Center for the 36th running of the Chili Bowl Nationals, day number 1. This is Cigar Port Chili Bowl Check-In, brought to you by Impact Signs, Awnings, and Wraps. I'm Scotty Cook, my old road dog, Scott Traylor. I thought, how apropos, after you and I have worked about 15 Chili Bowls together, I thought. Yeah. And we're going to try to do a little daily something, a little check-in here each and every day this week. I thought how apropos maybe to get my old partner Scott Traylor to kick it off with me, bud. We've done a few of these, haven't we?
Well, it's kind of funny, Scotty. This year we're just doing our Mostly Motorsports podcast down here over there in the fan walk, and the pressure is off of Kirk and myself because we're not doing the broadcast anymore. We've turned that over to Flo, and so we're excited about the future of what's going on with RacinBoys, with the Mostly Motorsports broadcast. And, we've spent a lot of time here, Scotty, a lot of time traveling up and down the road. We have so many stories. Dare do we tell any of them on the air, but
we can tell a few, I'm sure.
We could tell a few of them along the way, but we've had a lot of great times. I know that you were out there with me for 10 or 11 years, and it was just a great time traveling up and down the road with you. And I'm sure I'm going to miss it. I'm sure I'm going to miss you and all the people with the Lucas Oil ASCS National Sprint Car Tour. I'm going to miss Tommy, Dalton, Matt, Ashley, Max, all of them. It's going to be very difficult to pull myself away from traveling up and down the road.
Indeed. And, I don't know. I'm going to do what you always do to me. You tax my brain. You always throw it in my lap and say, what's your most vivid or craziest memory of our travels up and down the road? There have been so many.
Well, Scotty, to be honest with you, there were so many things that we've done, but some of the stuff that stands out is the time that we almost got killed up in the mountains of New Mexico when we almost got hit on by the semi up there. That was a little scary deal. And then the one time when we almost got T-boned down in Mesquite, Texas, when we rolled into Devil's Bowl.
Why they got to be near-death experience?
Those are definitely near-death experiences, but the experiences that we've had traveling up and down the road are second to none.
A couple of fateful trips to the Phoenix International Raceway.
Well, we can't really talk much about them, but
yeah, we can. It didn't entail anything other than adult beverages.
Right. The Speed Cantina was always a good stop for me and you, and we had a lot of fun there. We met a lot of cool people along the way, and I think maybe that's the thing that we've done more than anything in our travels is the people that we've met on the road. We've met so many different people over the years, and anyway, it's all good. I just think that the people that we met, like up in the Pacific Northwest and all those folks, and just everywhere, Pennsylvania. The one thing that was surprising to me, I think, more than anything, is that when we went to PA, I thought there was going to be a bunch of 410 snobs out there, and they just welcomed us with open arms, said, we've been wanting you to get out here for years. We're glad that you're here. Unfortunately, the National Tour is not going to go back out there this year, and they're not going back to the Pacific Northwest. But, met a lot of cool people along the way.
Indeed. And to the matter at hand, the 36th run of the Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals, we're here nearing the 400 mark this year. A milestone. When will it ever cap off?
Not until every nook and cranny of this place is full, right? I mean, listen, if it continues to grow, if you go over in the Midway right now, where we're at doing our show, Mostly Motorsports, it's very tight over there. And it's going to keep getting smaller, the amount of cars that they let in here. So, I just think that the sky's the limit. They're going to allow people to keep coming, and I wouldn't surprise if we see 450 cars here someday.
It would not surprise me either. Coming into qualifying night number 1 here, a little bonus to kick off the week, the VIROC, the VacuWorks International Race of Champions. What stands out to you as you look throughout the field of competitors this year?
Well, the one thing that comes to my mind is that Kyle Larson, the last couple of years, ran the King chassis, and he's going to go to an Eagle chassis this year, and I'm wondering how that's going to affect. He's got one of the great minds in Paul Silva that's behind him, And you know, I think Paul Silva's maybe the greatest mind in open wheel racing, but my thing is adjusting from that King chassis going to this Eagle chassis. How much of effect is that going to have on them, and is that going to get them behind the 8-ball a little bit?
Indeed. Obviously, Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson have won the last 5 Chili Bowls. This year, really interesting going in. Obviously, Christopher Bell back underneath the Kuntz camp. Keith Kuntz, Christopher Bell is going to be hard to beat. He'll have to step on it. But there again, 2-time back-to-back Kyle Larson. Obviously, arguably, the most amazing driver in motorsports right now. It's a free-for-all going into Saturday night. And then you also have to take into consideration, I'd like to get your thoughts as well, an unbelievable crop of young drivers, and then they lowered the age limit this year. Man, I think you need to watch your boys like Ryan Timms, Gavin Boschel as well.
Well, and Buddy Kofoid. I mean, you know, he's the USAC National Midget Champion, and you saw what he did at the end of the year. I mean, he didn't mail it in. He raced hard there at the end of the year trying to win that championship, and I think that you got to keep an eye on Buddy Kofoid. You know, Timms is an obvious candidate for – a lot of people say that the new rule for allowing young people in here is the Timms rule.
Right, they call it the Ryan Timms rule.
Right, so, you know, you just have to see how it all rolls out. There's so many young, talented drivers along the way, but there's a lot of seasoned veterans that could win it as well.
Indeed. Well, with that, man, it's just about time to get them going, and we appreciate you to come in and hang out with us and get this thing kicked off. Also appreciate you and Kirk allowing me a little bit of a platform to do a little behind the scenes this week, and special thanks to our old buddy Dean Mills. With that, make you go out on a limb, first day of the week, throw your prediction out there.
Well, I think you better keep an eye on Justin Grant. You know, we listened to the interview that Blake Anderson did on Flow with Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson said that he thought that Justin Grant would have won that race last year if it wasn't for the big screen down at the end. It was like a mirror for him. He was able to throw a couple blocks. But at the same time, if you look back at it, that also cost him when he lost to Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell got to the inside of him because he was paying too much attention to the big screen. So I'm thinking right now you got to look at Justin Grant as maybe the guy that I'm going to pick maybe to win this week.
All right, man. Hey, thanks so much again for sneaking over and hanging out with us, and special thanks to our old buddy Dean Mills for holding the cam for us and getting things corrected. And you are checking out the Cigar Port Chili Bowl Check-In, brought to you by Impact Signs, Awnings, and Wrap. With that, we're going to take a quick little break, and we'll be back with the 5-time champion, Sammy Swindell. We'll be right back.
Signs attract half of all new customers. A vehicle wrap can get 30,000 views per day. On-site signage costs roughly 2 cents per view. At Impact Signs, Awnings, Wraps, we know signs work. Custom signs, interior or exterior, for any application. Commercial awnings, any shape, any size. Full-color video displays, time and temp boards, gas price changers, and scoreboards. We can wrap anything: vehicles, trailers, boats, and more. Check us out at impact4800.com.
Cigarport.ca is your go-to online store for exclusive cigars produced from the best quality tobacco in the world.
Welcome back to Cigar Port Chili Bowl Check-In, brought to you by the fine folks of Impact Signs, Awnings, and Wraps. And welcome back to the Tulsa Expo Center. And this gentleman right here from the state of Tennessee, no stranger to this building and no stranger to packing hardware out of here as well. Good to see you, Sammy.
Yeah, good to see you.
Your thoughts coming into this year's Chili Bowl? It never gets any easier, and the car count just keeps going up.
Yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, I think we've been, when we switched motors a few years ago, we've been kind of struggling maybe a little bit with our setup. So I've been making changes, every year, a little bit here or there, and keep finding things. So, I'm really looking forward to this year. Just, I know we've had good cars all they've been good, but sometimes we've been just in the wrong place.
And that's a lot of this whole deal. Obviously, a lot of talent, but so much luck involved in getting into the show and progressing forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's for sure. It never seems to get any easier. And there used to be a big difference in the cars, but now there's so many, a couple hundred good cars. So if you get into that wrong heat or the wrong deal at the wrong time, well, you can't, pass the good cars, or you don't get the passing points or whatever. I mean, when we started on the front, or the first 3 spots, we've been able to win the heats. But there's been some times when I've been back so far, and you make it up. You maybe pass 5 cars, but then that puts you in the sea.
Indeed, it's so easy to get put behind the 8 ball here, and then you never want to get behind the 8 ball, but boy, and then you have to run that alphabet, and it's that's one thing I want you to talk about. On that note, one of the more memorable Chili Bowl runs we've seen in years. I don't even know how many years ago it was, but I recall you filling up the entire Constellation afternoon through the alphabet soup, and you drove the ragged dog whatever out of that race car until the engine expired. I do believe you just cracked the top 3 in the B main event, wasn't it? What year was that? That occurred?
They were just talking about it, I think, the other day, is like 06 or 08 or something, I think. But, yeah, that was the first year I had my own car. I'd always drove for somebody, and built a car that was quite a bit different. And it was really quick. I can't remember what happened to us to put us back that far. But we breezed through a lot of those races pretty easy from the front to the back. Made it into the A and started in the back. And I got right up there with Cruzman leading. So I was and then his battery quit, so I didn't even have to pass him. But we had a little deal. We got together with a car in the B main, and it bent the rear axle. So, at that point, at that time, I didn't have any spare parts, and what we had was a little bit different. Somebody tried to bring a rear, but it wasn't the same, so we didn't have the drive shaft didn't work, this didn't work. So I just found 4 of the biggest guys I could find, put them in the back of the trailer, and said, just stand there, close the door. We stuck the axle up under there. I got my little bottle jacked it and spun it, and I said, well, that's pretty good. But it shook so hard, and at that point I had the smaller torque tube with a aluminum U-joint, right. And it wound up just shaking so much that the end of it cut a groove in it, and then it wound up breaking, just like you take it, put it in the lathe and turn it down. Well, it finally gave up.
Wow, so it wasn't the engine actually that expired, it was in the driveline, the torque tube.
Yeah, well, I actually ran that motor for like 22 years.
Oh, my gosh.
So, we never had any trouble with it. But, it was just all the things we went through. It was like, the car was just so good. And, then we came back and did win it a few times. But, it's you never know what you're going to get. You never know what racetrack you're going to get. You never know which, you'll watch and watch and watch. You'll get up here, they'll make you get in staging, and then they go and redo the track, and you're like, oh, I'm set up for a slick track. Right. And they're trying to thrash around to get things to fit the racetrack we're going to go at. Or I've been down there and made that right-hand turn down the ramp, and it's like, man, I'm going to have, it's going to be a handful.
Talk about twisting of the knobs and the adjustable shocks when something like that occurs. It gets real busy, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're only good. They're good for if that's what the problem is, or right. But if you go out there, and you don't have, you got the stagger for a slick track, and you get a heavy track, you got the air out. Well, you got to try to change that around, move the wheel, do all the little things, or the weight, whatever bit we do for one track, and then it changes to a completely different kind of track. Right. But it's the more you can be adjustable or run different places has always been a benefit, because there's a lot of times guys get towards the end of the race, the cushion will get right up against the fence, so it's so long, sometimes you can just put right down there on the bottom, which I think I've been able to do probably as good or better than most anybody. So, but that's from the sprint car stuff where we run the cars straighter. It's like a lot of these guys, they got to have it turned,
Right.
So when it gets to where it's real finessing, then it's like it plays more into my hand.
Indeed. And ain't no doubt it's a young man's game anymore, and I'm sure each and every year it gets a little bit more difficult, especially with this event and the number of the competitors rise each and every year. But so cool that you just still here and wanting to run competitively each and every year, and I think the fans are so thrilled every year to have you back. I was looking one thing that stands out that's pretty cool to me of your Chili Bowl championships compared to the others. It's apparent through the years that it's a streaky thing. Kevin did his and made his run, and then with Kyle and Christopher, they've made up the last 5. You spread yours out over decades. What can you attest that to?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of those where I ran second or third,
Right.
or I should have won.
Right.
I can easily count where I could have had 10.
Mm-hmm.
That something happened or something didn't go right. But I think it's just, I don't know. I tell people a lot of times I don't drive midgets hardly at all, so I don't have any bad midget habits.
Right.
So I do most of the stuff kind of based off what we do with sprint cars and what works, and how you change with the tracks or different tracks, different surfaces. So I just think that my knowledge of racing a lot has helped, be able to do it this long.
One thing really interesting when I look at Sammy Swindell in the modern day is now that you've backed it off a little bit and been able to enjoy life a little bit more, you're able to spend a little bit more time with Kevin and your granddaughter as well. It's really cool to be able to see you Facebook posts up on the dock or out on the fishing boat. Talk about life as it is for Sammy Swindell these days.
Well, it's definitely slowed down a lot, instead of being on the road most all of the year, being able to be home more and be able to go do different things away from the racetrack. And actually my granddaughter played volleyball the last 2 days over in Oklahoma City, so I got to go over yesterday and spend the day with them and have dinner. So it's a different life.
It is.
It's
Much different than the one you've been used to for the previous 30 years, indeed. Well, hey, appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us here on this Chili Bowl check-in. And before we let you go, they got you back into the Virock race this evening and this year.
yeah, somebody must have complained.
I'm sure you're loaded for bear and ready to go, though. It always cool to see you back in the race this year, and it always serves as a nice little shakedown before your qualifying night on Wednesday.
Yeah, well, it gets a little bit tougher because I'm not racing as much, and then every year I'm older, and not running this Monday night always helped us for our qualifying night, and not that we were way off, but we were able to to learn from that and make adjustments, and then I got time on the track, so. That's the biggest thing. It's just not having, it's always been. It's like usually when I get out there, first corner, my hands are always in the wrong place. I'm used to sitting there like a wing cart, and then I get in, and it's like, whoa, I got to turn this thing to the right.
Right.
So it's just trying to make those adjustments and catch up. So hopefully we have the car spot on, and if we don't start up front, we can pass everybody.
Well, one thing about it, there'll be a lot of people in this building watching as they do each and every year, and there'll be cheers and there'll be jeers, as there always are. But nonetheless, we appreciate you spending a second with us, and best of luck tonight, and best of luck the rest of the week.
All right, thank you.
All right, that's your 5-time Chili Bowl champ, Sammy Swindell. Special thanks, Scott Kirk Elliott, for helping us out here putting some of this stuff up on the YouTube channel and RacinBoys Live, and my old buddy Dean Mills behind the camera as well. Special thanks to the fine folks of Cigar Port and Impact Signs, Awnings, and Wraps. We'll see you tomorrow night, day number 2 qualifying at the 36th Chili Bowl Nationals.